the pharmaceutically prepared cartilage is, they don't want to be left out of the market, but it's very expensive and very prohibitive. And of course, cartilage can be extracted at home just by making broth. You don't have to get a prescription. Broth recipes stress the quality that can be obtained from using highly cartilaginous parts of the animals. And these parts are the joint areas like chicken feet.
Chicken feet, remember that.
Beef knuckles, trachea, ribs, hooves, skin.
Hey, everybody, it's Mary Stockwell here, and it's 2018. This is our first podcast. Oh, wait, I didn't give you a chance.
And Dr. Jack.
Hey, we hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year's.
Yes.
And we just want to welcome you back to the Forbidden Doctor podcast. This is episode 135, Gap Soup, Saving Your Life in 2018.
Oh, absolutely. Now, we're going to be talking about broth and made from the bones of animals. And we are going to be doing this in such a way as we have not done it before.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, by the time we're done with this, you're going to be reaching for the nearest bowl of broth.
When we were studying for this, you were saying, I cannot believe the nutrients in broth.
Oh, yeah.
And you wanted to come home and make soup right away. And you said, I'm never going to go a day without broth.
Yes. And so we had our broth this morning.
Yes.
And why? Because broth simply has been consumed as a source of nourishment for humankind throughout the ages.
Yeah. It's a traditional remedy across all cultures for the sick and the weak.
Yes.
It's a classic folk treatment for colds and flus, chicken soup. It has always been used historically for ailments that affect connective tissue, such as the gastrointestinal tract, your gut, the joints, the skin, the lungs, the muscles, and the blood.
And today, we're going to be talking about the broth or soup that's recommended in the GAPS diet. And you are going to learn some things you haven't heard before because we're going to present ideas we have not covered before.
Yeah. And in January, most people get really excited to cleanse, do all these January cleanses that take care of the health. And we like that too. But we think an even more foundational way to cleanse is to rebuild your gut first. And the cool thing is, if you rebuild and heal your gut, you usually don't have to do a harsh cleanse.
Yes.
Because 80 to 85% of your immune system is in your gut. It's where you create the majority of your neurotransmitters that make you feel good, like the serotonin, the dopamine, the endorphins. And it's where you create all the B vitamins that give you energy and feed your nerves and endocrine system. And it's where you have all the best barriers to all the pathogens, toxins, and heavy metals.
Now, so boil this down to this. To save your life and the lives of your loved ones, you must save the gut.
You must first save your gut.
Yes.
That's exactly right. Many people think it's hard to make soup and rebuild your gut, but we are going to not only show you how easy it is, but we will get you so excited to make this soup that by the end of the podcast, you will, I promise you, when you hear the nutritional power in this easy-to-make soup, you will make it tonight and maybe start on your first journey of your GAPS diet. This website podcast is not intended to be a diversion away from the current system of disease management. It is our intention to offer a rational and very effective approach to aiding your body in its ability to rebuild and heal. Please be advised that any suggested nutritional advice or dietary advice is not intended as a primary treatment or a therapy for any disease or particular bodily symptom. Nutritional counseling, supplement vitamin recommendations, nutritional advice, and the adjunctive schedule of nutrition is provided solely to upgrade the quality of foods in the patient's diet in order to supply good nutrition supporting the physiological and biomechanical processes of the human body. Okay, we hope you had a great Christmas and New Year's, but I just had to share one present I got from my kids for Christmas this year. Our VIP members already saw this on our VIP webinar, but just sit through it again. It's so great. This is wonderful.
Oh, hello.
Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mom. We love you.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, Ma.
We know this is all you ever really want anyways. So,
This is your Christmas present from all of us to you.
We're taking our pills for you.
You see me do this every morning, but here we go again.
because it deserves a glass like this.
All right, let's put the next step in the water. All right, ready?
To living forever.
I still suck at taking cups.
I love you.
Love you.
We love you.
Love you.
I love you. Love you.
Best Christmas gift ever.
All right.
Oh, isn't that so beautiful? That's all I ever asked them that I want for Christmas.
So Mary was surprised by our kids who sent her this video of all of them taking our ageless thyroid and enzyme products.
Yes, yes. And I don't know why my son had masks. He and his wife had masks on. That was just there. He's super funny.
Well, because we're forbidden and they didn't want to be associated with the forbidden
That might
part of the
be-
family.
Thought this would go viral. They
Yes.
didn't want their faces on
That's
it.
right.
I understand. Yeah. That's so great. Okay. Well, speaking of gifts, if you stay to the end of the podcast, you'll hear about an opportunity to get a free gift. There are some exclusions, but stay to the end and you will love this.
All right.
Okay.
So let's start with a little warm broth.
Why is this so good for you? Well, here's just a simple alphabetical listing of conditions that broth benefits. Look at these. I mean, we just underlined a couple of them. Saggy skin, virility, constipation, insomnia. That's a big one with a lot of people. Tons and tons of conditions that are helped with broth. So, broth, though, has fallen out of favor in most households today, probably due to the increased pace of life that's reduced home cooking in general. I mean, one food source to watch out for due to the increased pace of life is any food delivered through the driver's side window of your car.
I wonder what that would be.
Oh, I don't think these soups are delivered through the driver's
But
side window.
far from being old-fashioned, the broth that we're going to be talking about, or the stock, it continues to be a staple in the professional and gourmet cuisine where we were last night at the Paris Bistro. And obviously due to its unsurpassed flavor and body. And it serves as the basis for many recipes, including soup and sauces and gravy. It's a valuable food and a valuable medicine, which is what we're going to be talking about in this podcast. Much too valuable to be forgotten or discounted in our modern times with all the busyness that just demands our constant attention and leads to such jaded attitudes that we just don't have time to settle down and cook a nice bowl of
Does
broth.
that not look good or what? I mean, right now, as we're speaking, our favorite restaurant, the Paris that you mentioned, is making the broth and the meat stock that will serve as the basis for their delicious sauces and gravies that will be served tonight with their gourmet entrees.
Let's go.
Yeah, I know. Let's hurry with this podcast.
Unlike the national chain restaurants that have this big, huge food delivery truck that pulls up outside, opens up the back door, and brings in all of these cans and bags and boxes of pre-made things and
Cans
a big
of gravy.
and a big commercial central plant somewhere in southern Argentina, and it suddenly ends up in the back door of your favorite family
it's probably
restaurant.
not Argentina because I'm telling you, they cook their food there. They make their soups there.
Excuse me, Argentinians listening to
Yes.
this. Mary's absolutely correct.
It's we that get our meals from the driver's side of our car.
That's right.
That don't get this.
And so there are all these sauces and gravies that are being delivered in a can. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what's in that bowl right there on the screen. And that may not have been derived from grass-fed animals at all, and most likely is loaded with MSG.
Yeah.
Not in this pot. The stuff that's being delivered to the back door of family restaurants.
Those big trucks with names on the sides that we won't mention.
Yes.
So that's why we like the Paris, because they make everything from scratch. They don't even have a microwave in their whole restaurant or a blender.
Or a blender.
Yeah, they make all their soups and stocks and broths from
They
scratch.
start early in the morning or the day before.
Yeah.
It's going to be the next
And the
foods.
food is just amazing there.
So in general,
Let's talk about some definitions here.
Well, yeah, because broth is a liquid that's made by boiling meat and bones or vegetables. And there are many types of broths that are based on what is being cooked. For example,
I've never heard of this. Beeler broth?
Well, it's a vegetable broth. It's made with green
called
beans,
Beeler broth?
zucchini, and celery. Yes, because it has in the green beans and the zucchini and the celery are things that help the liver to detoxify.
Yeah.
So
those
if you're
vegetables.
feeling congested, if you feel like something's coming on, this is a great broth.
Okay, I just had never heard the term Beeler broth, but
Well, it's
that's
named
okay.
after Bill Beeler.
Okay.
Then
and
there's consomme.
Yeah, it's a rich broth made from meat. It's prepared by reducing. This is from a reduction of
Yes.
or prolonged simmering.
Well, exactly.
I watched our son-in-law produce some reduction a few months ago. It was just fascinating. I don't know.
Oh, it took him a good, half hour, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
just constantly with a little whisk in that pan. And it started
I-
full and it
I
got
tried
lower
to add
and
water,
lower.
and you thought that I had just lit him on
heavens,
fire.
you don't do that.
Yeah. No. I found that out. Okay, and then stock.
Which is another word used synonymously with broth, though some chefs denote stock as being made from bones, whereas broth is made from the meat.
Okay.
A big distinction. We don't want to, step on somebody's toes or sound dumb here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, soup.
Yeah, it's a similar term referring to simmered vegetables, meat, and seasonings, and is defined by Random House Webster's Dictionary as a liquid food. The difference is that soup contains solids such as meat, beans, grains, or vegetables, sometimes disguised as a puree, while a broth is the liquid in which solids have been simmered and then discarded.
Yeah, and soup is what we think of as having for a meal. What would we have tonight? Chicken soup.
Yeah.
But the broth is the starting ingredient for that soup, and it's prepared separately beforehand.
And super nutritious.
And why it is so important, we're going to talk about now, because the ingredients are bones from an animal, with or without meat or skin. Enough water just to cover the bones, a tablespoon or two of vinegar, and optional assorted vegetables that you like, or their scraps, and spices like salt and pepper.
It's very inexpensive.
Yeah, because making broth requires almost no work. You just put the bones in a pot, add water and vinegar, and let it sit for a few minutes with the vinegar, of course. Then you bring it to a simmer.
Before you cook it.
That's right. And then you walk away, no chopping, no tending, nothing else.
Then why don't people make it?
Well, stock needs to be prepared in advance of mealtime. I mean, it needs to boil for hours. And the longer it simmers, the better it gets. And an easy solution, is just to routinely put meat scraps into a pot instead of a garbage can.
Yeah.
And then broth can just as easily be extracted from a single chicken breastbone as it can from a whole chicken. It doesn't have to be raw. And I know there are people listening right now, as it is with me. You can remember back, grandma, grandpa, whatever else, there was a pot on the back burner of the stove that always seemed to be simmering.
Like our house.
Oh, yes, I can just smell the simmering stew right now.
Yeah, we often have a pot on our stove.
Well, we do.
So the turkey bones from Thanksgiving, they can be reused towards a great benefit towards your health.
Yeah, and broth can be allowed to simmer on the lowest heat for a day or two. The greatest amount of work is at the end when it has to be strained and then cooled and then put into containers. But it's not really that much trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be kept in a refrigerator for about 5 days, or it can be frozen for months.
Yeah.
And when you have this stock on hand that took hours ahead of time to make, homemade soup can be ready for dinner within 20 minutes.
Yeah, just throw in some vegetables. You can just add meat or vegetables and cook it lightly so as to preserve the amino acids, as we talked about in our last podcast.
Yes. And you can flavor that. Oh, that's what I want to talk about, was the flavoring of the thing. Because some people have soup is kind of boring broth. No, flavor it however you want to flavor it. Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Italian, Mexican. Just throw in those spices to bring that real flavor.
Indian.
And we know, especially Indian, if you love curry like I do.
Yeah, here's the nutritional contents. Basically, broth contains all the ingredients that are in bone. So all the stuff covering and adhering to the ends of bones to form a joint, that's called collagen.
The cartilage.
The cartilage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So broth is going to contain the ingredients that are in cartilage.
Cartilage.
And bone and cartilage are both classified as connective tissue, and connective tissue is one of the four basic types of tissue that exist in animals, including humans. And what it does is it functions to bind or to hold together or to support and strengthen the body. That is the role of the collagen.
Yeah, just holds everything together.
Yeah.
So it'll do the same thing in your body. It will hold it together and strengthen it.
And so connective tissue consists of this matrix, which is the material that fills the space between the cells. And it's composed of protein fibers and something called ground substance, which we'll get into, which can be a liquid or a gel or a solid. And it's the valuable nutrients from the matrices of both bone and cartilage, which creates this substance called broth.
Okay, let's talk about bone for a minute.
Yeah, well, the primary function of bone is to provide and support a framework, for the body. It protects organs, it stores and releases minerals, it produces blood cells, and it stores energy.
Oh, your bones store energy.
Oh, yes.
We're going to find this out.
We're going to find out how, because in the matrix of bone, the protein and the collagen, these things form the fibers. And collagen has the ability to resist a pulling or a tearing force that's called tensile strength. Collagen is flexible and it's rubbery.
Yeah, and the other matrix component, the ground substance, as they call it, is made of mineral salts, calcium and phosphorus. It's in a composite called hydro. How can you?
You said it the other day.
Hydroxyapatite.
That's it.
Woohoo! And some calcium carbonate form 65% of the ground substance inside of the bones.
And inside the bone, 25% of the bone's water. You wouldn't expect that, but it's water. But because of the contents of the bone, it adheres to this matrix, this ground substance. And then the last 10% is a few other minerals, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and a sulfate mixture. And the inorganic minerals form the solid ground substance, and that's what gives bone its hardness. Because if bones were only made of collagen, they would be rubbery. And if they were only made of minerals, then they would be brittle and easy to break. But together, the collagen and the minerals together give you a bone that is flexible, but at the same time, very hard.
That's why you can fall down and not break all your bones.
Of course.
Within reason, of course.
Yes.
Can't fall off a mountain. But if you're able to make collagen, your bones will be flexible.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's talk about what's inside the bone, the bone marrow, because in the central cavity of a bone is the marrow. And there's two types of bone marrow, red and yellow. And red bone marrow is the location for the manufacturing of cells in the blood. And this red bone marrow produces the cells in their immature forms. And then the final conversion of the mature blood cell occurs outside of the bone marrow.
See, I didn't know that.
But
Studying for this, that was really interesting.
But this is one of the things that comes out in the broth when you cook the bones,
Right,
is
the
the
marrow.
marrow and these immature cells that are full of energy. And they're the
stem cells.
They start as stem cells, exactly.
the precursor to red blood cells.
And they carry and deliver oxygen, of course, to other cells.
Very important.
And chicken, interestingly enough, chicken that's compared to beef produces a stronger tasting broth. This is because chicken bones have a higher concentration of the red marrow, which considerably enhances the flavor.
And I knew that, and I used to always talk about that in our GAPS meetings that would have with people in our clinic. So that's why chicken soup is so delicious.
Oh yeah, if people are offered chicken soup or beef soup, almost always they'll take the chicken soup.
take the chicken.
Inherently, they know it's more delicious.
So the yellow bone marrow is a
Right.
storage site for energy in the form of lipids or fats. It also contains a small amount of blood cells and type 3 collagen fiber. So cells are made in the yellow bone marrow are lymphoid stem cells, which are the precursors to white blood cells, and white blood cells
are part of the immune system.
Yeah.
That contains the phagocytes and the macrophages that eat up the bad guys.
Yeah. So this is a bone marrow dinner my daughter ordered in New York City. She texted me this picture. So in New York City, even though they order everything there, look what they can order.
A bone marrow dinner.
It was delivered up the elevator, not through the right side of the car.
Not that the lift or the taxi cab guy pulled up to a fast food place and gave her a bag in the back seat. No. She went into a restaurant that served bone marrow.
No. This was delivered to her.
It was delivered to
her hotel room.
To her hotel room?
To her hotel room.
Holy
But
smoke.
they deliver everything in New York City. It's incredible. I was there for about 6 weeks, and I could not believe you can get almost anything delivered. And I tell you, it's all amazing stuff. Lots of bone broth.
Yeah.
She sent me a text before this. For lunch, she had bone broth, literally in a cup. It looked like a coffee cup, like from Starbucks, kind of.
Well, I'm glad to see this catching on.
Yeah, not where we live.
Well, there are a couple of restaurants in Salt Lake that are starting to get a clue.
Right. But I mean, she just picked up the phone and ordered bone broth.
Yeah.
And then she ordered this marrow, this bone marrow, and she loved it.
Well, we've talked about collagen. We've talked about bone marrow. Now we want to talk about cartilage. And that is deposited in different places in the body. You know, the nose and the rough part of your ear and the stiffy part of your nose. That's all cartilage. And joint cartilage is the primary type that gets incorporated into broth. And it functions as a shock absorber, of course, but it also helps to reduce friction. And in the matrix of cartilage, the thing that makes it up is collagen protein and elastin protein.
It's a fiber.
And like collagen, these fibers, this elastin fiber provides strength, but it also provides stretch. It can stretch up to 1.5 times its original length. Wow. And you're looking here at a knee, and you're looking at the cartilage that surrounds that knee joint. And it's made not just to lubricate, but it will stretch depending on how far you stretch that knee to hold that joint together.
Well, the other matrix component is these gags. And you get to say that big long word.
Glycosaminoglycans.
Yeah. And chondroitin sulfate and keratin sulfate and hydrolonic acid.
Hyaluronic.
Hyaluronic
Yeah,
acid.
these are big words. It's okay. Hyaluronic acid.
Yeah, they shoot that in lips.
Yeah, because it attracts water.
Yeah. They shoot it also in joints, too.
And so the gags, the glycosaminoglycans form this gel that gives cartilage its resilience.
Yeah, well, cartilage has enjoyed a lot of fame as a supplement for osteoarthritis in the form of shark cartilage.
Yes.
And it's been studied for joint disease and gastrointestinal disease. And a study found that cartilage dramatically improved degenerative joint disease, including rheumatoid arthritis. So the study also found that it improved inflammatory bowel disease.
Yeah, but cartilage has a very poor blood supply. You know, it actually produces chemicals that are known as anti-angiogenesis factors.
I put that on the screen.
Yeah, the AAFs, anti-angiogenesis. Now, angiogenesis means to build blood vessels.
Okay.
Anti-angiogenesis means it stops the growth or inhibits the growth of blood vessels.
Now, this is interesting.
Yeah, but you know, it sounds like an unfortunate thing, but it's actually used in the advantage of fight against cancer because cancer cells grow very rapidly, and they achieve very rapid proliferation by by stimulating the growth of new blood vessels to support themselves. And so they're using these anti-angiogenesis factors, the AAFs. They're being used as a treatment to inhibit the growth of blood vessels into cancer cells. So as a medicine, this soup that you are making from bone that has cartilage in it also has AAFs in the form of this cartilage.
Who knew? So just eat broth for the anti-cancer properties of cartilage.
Yes, and this is based on research.
So your Aunt Rose that has cancer should be eating broth, not as a cure, mind you, but as a supportive nutrient or nutrition. So cartilage supplementation also stimulates the beta cells, the T cells, and the macrophage immune cells. And according to another study, I've got all these studies here that we went through, malnutrition or protein deficiency is the most common form of immune suppression in the world. That is because the immune system is composed primarily of protein, including antibodies, receptors, and chemical signalers. And when you think about it more, that 80% of the immune system lines the gastrointestinal tract, the role of cartilage gains huge importance, hugely, since it can nourish both the gut and the immune system.
Yeah, and the pharmaceutically prepared cartilage is, you know, they don't want to be left out of the market, but it's very expensive and very prohibitive. And of course, cartilage can be extracted at home just by making broth. You don't have to get a prescription. Broth recipes stress the quality that can be obtained from using highly cartilaginous parts of the animals. And these parts are the joint areas like chicken feet.
Chicken feet, remember that.
Beef knuckles, trachea, ribs, hooves, skin. Yeah, even the skin. These dumb recommendations to eat skinless chicken.
Skinless
for Pete's sake.
chicken. Take the skin off. You need that skin. So, to summarize, cartilage or broth can be considered for use in the following conditions: arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, cancer, decreased immune system states, and malnutrition.
Yes.
And as promised, here is our stock. Here's a stock that our nutritional consultant, Jill Christiansen, and she's also a GAP certified practitioner like you and I are, baby. She made this for her family. She sent a picture of it. It's so gross. Yes, that is, let's zoom in here, chicken feet.
So what are you getting?
Well, you think about it.
You're
You
getting
eat
cartilage. You're getting collagen. You're getting these gags, the amino
I don't have it in front of me, baby. I can't.
glucosaminoglycans, the
Ooh,
gags.
yeah.
Oh, you have to gag.
But
your
they
head.
don't make you gag.
No, but
This kind
when
of
you
does.
make broth out of something like this, and you, for Pete's sake, you don't tell anybody what's in there.
Well, you strain this out.
Flavors that, oh yeah, you're not going to serve a bowl with chicken feet floating around in it.
I was going to put another picture up here with deep fried chicken feet that somebody had made, but I decided not to.
No,
'cause-
it's just the broth that's left. It is loaded with some of the most nutritious material you can put inside
Well,
your
you
body.
think about chicken wings. What's the difference? You gnaw on chicken wings. These are just chicken feet.
Yeah, but chicken wings were just kind of flapping around the chicken yard. And
I know.
Feet were walking
You
on
just can't
everything.
think. You know, we
But
had
they're kind of clean looking.
You just can't think about it. We had oysters last night,
Yeah.
and I finally slopped one down or slurped it down or whatever, because it just kind of reminds
I
me.
love oysters on the half shell.
Lots of good zinc in
I
that.
could sit there and eat 2 dozen of them.
So it's just food. So you just think of it as
Yep.
food, and this was what she made for her family. I was just so proud of her, even though it's just a little bit gross. Okay.
Yes, well now collagen and gelatin.
Let's talk about collagen and gelatin. A cool thing you can do is freeze your homemade broth in little ice cubes, then take 1 or 2 out and warm them up in a ceramic or glass cup and use them as the base in other cooking dishes.
Yeah.
But I would just have a cup a day of this warm broth that you can, from your own homemade
Yeah.
broth.
Just start the day off with that. It starts your digestive processes and it covers the bases of needed micronutrition.
Yeah.
So collagen comes from the word colla, which means glue. And, true to its verbal root there, it's been used as glue in the past. I mean, it functions, as far as we're concerned, to hold the body together. 1/4 of all the protein in your body is collagen. And it's the framework for the extracellular matrix of bone and cartilage and skin. And another word for collagen, of course, is gelatin.
So collagen is the scientific term for a particular protein in the body, while gelatin is a food term referring to extracted collagen.
Right.
Okay.
It's extracted from the collagen. You boil beef bones long enough, and then you let it cool. There's going to be this solid gelatinous mass inside. That's the gelatin, and oh, that is so nutritious.
It's very nutritious.
It's so nutritious. You usually find it in powdered form, but gelatin also describes the collagen that's extracted when you make the broth. And properly prepared broth will gel, just like Jell-O, when it cools, because collagen is rubbery and it's very flexible.
And Webster's dictionary defines gelatin as the substance extracted by boiling bones, hoofs, and animal tissues.
Yeah, and since collagen is in both bone and cartilage, it can be extracted from either of these 2 connective tissues and be labeled as gelatin. And most commercial gelatin today actually comes from animal skins. But that's another connective tissue that just happens to contain collagen.
Yeah, gelatin is what most people think of as a main ingredient in broth. Bone broth differs from gelatin in that it also contains minerals and those gags.
The glycosaminoglycans. And traditionally, made stock uses bone and cartilage, and it produces a much higher quality result. It also produces a safer result, considering that most commercial gelatin has small amounts of MSG in it.
Ooh, scary, scary.
Yep.
Okay, here's a little bit more about gelatin.
So let's get a little biochemically technical here for a second. The amino acid profile of gelatin has three amino acids: glycine, proline, and lysine. And when you do a couple of chemical changes with some of that, you get hydroxyproline and hydroxylysine. And although it seems, a little obscure today, gelatin has been studied and it's been recommended with great enthusiasm by the medical community in the past.
Yeah, in 1937, Dr. Pottinger, we've talked about him a lot, said gelatin may be used in conjunction with almost any diet that the clinician feels is indicated.
Yeah, from the late 1800s to the mid-1900s, gelatin was the subject of many studies, and these were summarized in the book Gelatin in Nutrition and Medicine by a Dr. Gotthofer.
Yeah, and Gotthofer's studies, one general area of health comes really to the front, that it helps in digestion.
Yes.
Most notably, he refers to over 30 years of research on gelatin's ability to improve the digestion of milk.
Now, who'd have thought?
Yeah, of milk.
Because in the early 1900s, gelatin was recommended as an ingredient in infant formula because it decreases allergic reactions, it decreases colic, and respiratory ailments.
Yeah, gelatin was also reported to increase the digestibility of beans and meat, which gives credence to the practice of serving meat with gravy.
Yes.
See that gelatin, jelly
now, this
gravy?
is not gravy made out of a foil packet from the
With
spice
MSG.
section at the store that's half MSG.
Yeah.
It's the homemade gravy from the drippings of what you're producing, the roast chicken, the roast turkey, the roast beef, whatever.
It is also found that gelatin increased the utilization of the protein in wheat, oats, and barley, all gluten-containing grains.
Yes.
So if you want to be able to eat those, you use gelatin.
Yeah.
or gravy.
Gotthofer also found the gelatin to be prescribed for both hyper and hypo stomach acidity. And he cited 3 different physicians who report the gelatin would work better and more rapidly than bismuth and tannin. Now, you don't hear too much about that anymore except for Pepto-Bismol that has bismuth in it for stomach problems, but he found out gelatin worked much better than that.
Yeah, and in a more recent study, they demonstrated that glycine, the main ingredient in gelatin, stimulates gastric acid secretion.
Yeah, and another recent study found that gelatin protected against ethanol-induced mucosal damages in rats.
Oh.
Who's feeding rats alcohol? Well, it's a part of the study. And they found out when gelatin was present in the diet, alcohol had less detrimental effect on the walls of the stomach, which directly supports the old traditional thought that broth is healing and it's coating to the gastrointestinal lining, which gives a great scientific explanation, as far as I'm concerned, for broth's ability to calm and to soothe.
Yeah. And gelatin has also been found to improve body weight as well as bone mineral density in states of protein under nutrition.
Yeah, I remember my aunt that had a packet of gelatin in hot water every day. Now, this is back in the late 50s, early 60s. My Aunt Christine. And I remember she'd have coffee, but she'd also every morning would have this coffee cup with hot water, and she'd put in a packet of gelatin and drink it down. And now I understand why.
Well, it says there's studies that show that convalescing adults who've lost weight because of cancer fare better if gelatin is added to their diet. So
yes,
it's said to be tolerated when almost nothing else can be tolerated.
And some of the medical communities in other parts of the world value gelatin as well. In Chinese herbal medicine, gelatin's a very important herbal remedy. It's been in use for thousands of years. In Chinese, the name is jiao.
Jiao.
And it's classified as a tonic herb. And tonics, of course, strengthen or supplement some kind of insufficiency and weakness. And they're considered nourishing and enhances the body's resistance to disease that are used for states of deficiency. And this is what is in the broth.
And gelatin is used to tonify the blood in particular. And this correlates to Western medical knowledge since glycine, a key ingredient in gelatin, plays a vital role in the blood. So if gelatin is extracted from bone, then marrow, where blood cells are produced, then...
The marrow is also extracted.
Yeah.
And the Chinese studies have shown gelatin to increase red blood cell count and hemoglobin count. It increases serum calcium levels. It increases the absorption and utilization of calcium. And it prevents and treats myotonia atrophica.
What's that?
Well, it's muscle wasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it slows,
Atrophic.
it prevents it.
Yeah.
And so here's some of the studies that we've researched. It makes a person not ever to be without broth every single day, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's just some of them that we've gone through. So anyway, to summarize, gelatin, the broth, can be considered for use in the following conditions. I've got them here.
You want to have some fun with this one.
Whole bunch of them. Food allergies, dairy, maldigestion. So lactose intolerant people.
Yes.
Colic, bean. I didn't know. I guess if you
Well, some people have a hard time digesting
gas.
beans.
Yeah.
And meat and grain.
Yep. And then all those other things, hiatal hernias, inflammatory bowel disease. I mean, there's leaky gut syndrome, malnutrition, weight loss, muscle wasting, cancer, osteoporosis, calcium deficiency, and anemia. Now you know why your aunt took gelatin every day. But her ancestors just drank broth and ate soup.
Yes, that was the much easier way to do that.
Okay, now let's talk about collagen.
Collagen. Over 15 types of collagen have been identified. And why am I talking about this with a lady getting needle injections of collagen in her face?
That's worse than the chicken feet.
She could have just eaten it in soup instead. So there's type 1 collagen. It's in the bone and the skin and the ligaments and the tendons and the white of the eye.
Ooh.
It's in the type 2 is in the cartilage, type 3 is in bone marrow and lymph. And that's called reticulin fiber.
Yeah, because you've always wanted to know that. So
Yes.
You got type 1, type 2, type 3. Do you know, so do you think it's important to build good, strong collagen instead of doing what she's doing? I mean, wouldn't it be better to build your own collagen from the inside out?
Yeah, now protein fibers in the body, especially collagen fibers, are created by stringing together amino acids, the building blocks of protein, around whole food vitamin C.
And vitamin C is the loom that protein winds itself around to make good, strong collagen fibers.
It's just like it's like music.
You know, I can tell you, even with if I kind of see my neck starting to wrinkle or under my eyes or something, chicken neck, I will take extra protofood, which is the amino acids, and the protein, and whole food vitamin C, Cataplex C, or Cyredo Plus, which is even stronger.
And you see it tighten back up.
Yeah.
We have a podcast on that.
I am not
Chicken
kidding.
necks.
It actually works.
Yes, it does, because you're giving the body the raw material it needs to build from the inside out what this lady's getting injected from the outside in.
Collagen differs from the average protein in that it is composed of a high concentration of certain amino acids. Specifically, about 1/3 of collagen is composed of glycine, the smallest amino acid. Another third of collagen is composed of proline.
And a smaller portion of the amino acids, lysine is also incorporated in collagen. Interestingly enough, these things are all present in broth. Now, scurvy is a disease that's caused by a deficiency of vitamin C, and it results in symptoms such as bleeding gums and bruising and poor wound healing. And these manifestations are actually due to the deficiency of collagen.
Whoa.
Because vitamin C is needed to synthesize
that makes sense.
collagen. So when you don't have, and I'm not talking about ascorbic acid.
No.
I'm talking about whole food the real McCoy, whole food vitamin C. When you don't have enough of that, collagen can't be synthesized from the protein matrix in your diet, and you're going to get saggy skin.
Wow.
And that not just saggy skin, bleeding gums, bruising, poor wound healing.
Look at all that.
Yep.
Cartilage and bone injuries like dental degeneration and reducing wrinkles and sagging.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the next one. Glycine.
All right, glycine is the simplest of all the amino acids. There's about 20, 21, depending on what school you went to. And it contributes to the manufacturing of other amino acids, and it's incorporated into very important structures inside of our body. And it's a primary ingredient in the synthesis of heme, which is the basis of hemoglobin, that vital portion of our blood that carries oxygen. And it's used in the synthesis of creatine, which buffers energy and shuttles energy across the membranes in muscle tissue. Creatine is also something that always shows up in your blood work. They want to know creatine levels because of that, and especially the membranes and the cell structures in the heart. And it also contributes to the synthesis of bile salts.
Oh.
It's incorporated into something called purines and pyrimidines and nucleic acids that form the basis of your DNA and your RNA.
Just that.
Yeah, and it's used as a cofactor in phase 1 detoxification in the liver during the final oxidation of the bad guys, the bad stuff. And it's one of the 3 amino acids that's needed to form glutathione, which is a key phase of detoxification enzyme inside the liver itself. And glycine is also used in something called gluconeogenesis, which is the synthesis of glucose, blood sugar, from amino acids during times of fasting, and therefore it affects the stabilization of blood glucose levels. So it can support those of you with diabetes and hypoglycemia, and also those of you who do the keto diet, who have, or the paleo, that have tremendously lower levels of carbohydrate intake. Glycine is so vitally important.
Yeah. So the study also concluded that a low state of glycine is more common than previously thought. It was found that certain conditions increase our need for glycine, such as sickle cell anemia and pregnancy.
Yeah, and in the case of sickle cell anemia, the high rate of heme destruction increases the requirement for glycine. And in pregnancy, obviously the growing fetus creates a demand for glycine that's anywhere from 2 to 10 times greater than normal.
Gotta eat that
so
broth.
What should pregnant women be drinking during pregnancy?
Every day, a
Yes.
cup of broth every day.
And additional studies have reported very positive results with glycine for health conditions, and it states that glycine is associated with a strongly reduced risk of asthma.
Wow.
And if you need certain kinds of protein synthesis in the presence of glycine, and we're talking about constant inflammatory irritation of the bronchi inside the lungs where asthma hits us, you need protein synthesis there greatly, which is probably why glycine, broth-derived glycine, I might add, is the easiest way to get it, can greatly help asthmatics.
And all these gaps, or these children that have such bad gut dysbiosis have asthma.
Yeah.
So this could be really helpful. And in a study on wound healing, it theorized that glycine was particularly helpful due to its high concentration in connective tissue and also due to the increased need for creatine in wound healing.
Yeah, and why are we going on about this? Because this is one of the principal amino acids present in broth.
Yeah, it's also been found to be the rate-limiting step in rapid growth, of which both wound healing and fetus growth are an example. So you don't want a fetus to grow and grow and grow, and you don't want your wounds to have huge scars.
Yeah, so glycine has been recognized in the chemical processes that limit both of those things taking place. And then lastly, the study stated that, quote, the ability of the liver to perform protective synthesis is limited by the amount of glycine available.
Wow.
And then, of course, it recommended gelatin as the glycine supplement for patients who have jaundice and other kinds of liver problems. But an easier way to do it is to get the gelatin and the glycine together in broth.
Here's just some of the studies that we looked at. Broth is often used in modified fasting and cleansing. So in a fasting state, glycine is used for gluconeogenesis. So that is the genesis of
glucose from protein and fat.
Right.
So when you don't have enough carbohydrate intake, your body will literally make glucose out of protein and fat.
Ah. So
that's why people who are on a low-carb diet lose fat really fast.
Yeah. So during periods of fasting, when there's no food or energy source is being consumed, our body breaks down our own protein tissues, such as muscle, to create energy. Okay? So we don't die, so when we're fasting. If broth is consumed while you're fasting, it supplies an outside source of glycine, which limits or prevents degeneration during the fast.
Yeah, and since glycine is also used for phase 1 and phase 2 liver detox, it puts broth into a category of a liver tonic, because broth helps the body to detoxify during a cleanse. And in fact, at any time it's eaten, and this reminds me of Dr. Ansari in school talking about fasting. And he says, how long can anybody fast?
Because I want to go back to the fasting.
How long is fasting? How do you define fasting? And we're all we're thinking, well, Jesus fasted for 40 days. And somebody says, well, I tried it once for 2 weeks. And I did it for a month. And the teacher says, nope, all you can fast is 3 days. What? Is there a law against fasting more? Because at the end of 3 days, all the blood sugar has been consumed. The glycogen, stored sugar in your muscles and liver, has been consumed. After 3 days, you start eating yourself. And now it's no longer
a fast.
It's starvation.
Yeah.
He just wanted to hit that point home.
So if you are going to do a fast, then
drink broth while you're doing it. You're going to drink water. Why not drink broth to go with it?
Yeah.
You still get the benefits of the fast, but now you're getting vital ingredients to keep your body from eating
and it
itself.
prevents the degeneration during the fast.
Very good point.
To summarize, broth or glycine, since we're talking about that, can be considered for use in the following conditions: anemia, fatigue, detoxification, blood sugar dysregulation, muscle wasting, wound healing, pregnancy, infant and child growth, asthma, hypochlorhydria, jaundice, and liver support.
Yes.
Do those sound important? Okay, let's move on real quickly to proline.
Yes, my favorite and your favorite amino acid, proline.
It's found in most of the proteins in the body, and one of its main roles is in the structure of collagen. So it's incorporated into connective tissue such as bone, skin, ligaments, and tendons, and cartilage. So proline is also considered a non-essential amino acid, but as with glycine, it may be considered conditionally essential in that it's important to consume proline dietarily. Broth. Research shows that proline levels drop significantly when it's absent from
Yeah, and
the
proline's
diet.
been shown to have beneficial effects for memory and the prevention of depression. Now, how many collagen products are there out there on the marketplace? And you take a collagen product because you think that collagen's going to go into you and do collagen things.
Yeah. Get rid of your wrinkles.
No.
Nope.
What happens is when you take these collagen products, just like the collagen that's in the soup, your body's going to break it down into its constituent parts, part of which is glycine, part of which is proline. And what it will do is take a rich supply of that stuff and then build its own collagen from the inside out.
Yeah.
So that's what you don't take when you go to a health food store or some other place and, oh, there's a collagen product. Oh, yes, this collagen product will stop facial sagging.
Get rid of my wrinkles.
Yes. No.
It's just going to break it down.
It's just a protein, and your body's going to break the protein down. But if it is a good source of collagen, like bone broth, your body gets a rich supply of the natural ingredients it needs to rebuild its own collagen structures inside the body.
You build it from the inside out.
Oh, there's the gags again. The glycosaminoglycans. Now, I just had to put this picture up here because as I was looking for a picture of gags, I remembered my old biochemistry. Yeah, most pictures of gags, people have something shoved down their throat or someone is holding their hands around their throat.
Is that what you found when you went looking?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden this picture showed up. Now, that little blue line riding through the middle is hyaluronic acid.
Okay.
Hyaluronic acid is so negatively charged that it pulls water to it, which is one of the reasons why hyaluronic acid is predominant in a lot of joints because it pulls the fluid into the joint. Now, glycosaminoglycans are a part of that, and it's a part of what makes hyaluronic structures so advantageous, along with chondroitin sulfate, and to a little lesser degree keratin sulfate, to lubricate our joints. It has a natural jelly-like substance to it, and I just had to throw this up there for all of my fellow biochemistry students out there. And I took biochemistry for 2 years, laboratory-based biochemistry, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I understood then the chemistry of the body.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow.
And speaking of beautiful, that poor
Yeah.
girl, think how ugly she'd be if she wasn't having hyaluronic acid injections into her lips every day. And as I said,
doesn't. Those are beautiful.
As I said, it's strongly negatively charged, and it allows it to attract and bond with a large amount of water. And this molecule is therefore aptly called hydrophilic or water-loving, and that's why she's getting these injections in her lips, because it pulls water to it. And if you put it in the right spot, it'll make the lips bigger and delicious looking.
like
and,
duck lips.
Yes.
It's horrible.
Well, Dr. Pottinger, who researched gelatin back in the 1930s, believed that this hydrophilic nature was the root of gelatin's digestive benefits of attracting digestive juices to the surfaces of the food that you're trying to digest. And so he coined the term hydrophilic colloids, which is what hyaluronic acid is. It's very viscous, it's slippery, it lubricates joints, it helps in wound healing by assisting the migration of phagocytes to the wound to clean up the debris.
And they inject it into lips to puff them up.
And guess where an easy way to get hyaluronic acid is? Broth. You guessed it.
Yeah, you could, but this is abnormal. puffing up of
Well,
lips.
she got those lips from eating broth.
Oh, she got those lips from her mother and father, and now she's going to ruin them.
All right. A lot of you take chondroitin sulfate supplements. And simply because it's a jelly-like substance, it's now famous, of course, for joint pain associated with osteoarthritis. It functions to support and provide adhesiveness in the joint. It lines blood vessels. It plays a role in lowering atherosclerosis, cholesterol, and heart attacks.
Yay.
And where do we get chondroitin sulfate?
Broth. Okay, I want you just to hold on really quick for a funny, cute, short commercial break because we do have to pay our bills.
Yes.
Here's a special announcement. Try our Forbidden Monthly VIP membership free for 1 month.
Yeah, many of you have been familiarized to some degree with our VIP membership, but now we're offering it for 1 month for free to see what you think.
Yeah, we're trying to get more people into this membership, so we're going to give it to you free for 1 month, and hopefully it will be valuable enough that you will
stay with it.
You'll continue on. Just go to forbiddendoctor.com/VIP to find out more. Another announcement we have is we now have smaller, more affordable bottles of Long Life Energy enzymes because people couldn't afford that great big bottle that we...
So we've broken it down to a
into
third
smaller
size,
one.
a 1 month supply.
And one more exciting thing. On Amazon, our big bottle, the 189...
just got Amazon's Choice status.
Yeah, when I shopped all through Christmas, on Amazon, I would always pick the ones that was Amazon Choice because it was the best product for the value and for the price and everything else. So our larger bottle is now Amazon's Choice for enzymes.
Isn't that nice?
Pretty exciting.
Yes.
And I keep forgetting to tell you guys, but I had a very large age spot on my face. My sisters had commented on it for a long time. It disappeared on my face after taking Lee enzymes.
Yes.
It's gone. I just cannot believe it. And look at that. We did get not a 5-star because we missed. The price went up to $210 because we put it on sale for $189 for a whole year, and we missed January 1st. The price went back up to $210. So she was upset that she had to pay $210, our regularly priced price. And so she gave us a low rating, so it ruined our perfect 5 stars.
Oh.
But we talked to her, so maybe she'll go back in and change that.
Yes.
But anyway, we're super excited.
So we're going to...
Let's move right along.
Back to broth. And the minerals. One of the most important things that we're going to get. Minerals have 3 major functions in the body. They provide a structural basis for the connective tissue like bone. They create the electrical potentials, something that we call electrolytes inside the body for the conduction of nerve signals and the movement of fluids across cell membranes. And then, of course, they act as catalysts for enzymes in the physiological processes. As Paul Bergner says in The Healing Power of Minerals, it transforms the food and the air we breathe into energy, vibrant health, and consciousness.
Wow. Minerals are essential to life, but they're not easy to digest.
No.
In the stomach, you have to have really hot stomach acid, hydrochloric acid. It's necessary to break down our food, but also to extract the elemental minerals from the food that we've eaten.
Yeah, and a similar reaction takes place when you're making broth. Mm-hmm. We use an acid when we're doing it to remove the minerals from the broth, and it's just
the bone.
Excuse me. And that's the purpose of using vinegar. We recommend apple cider vinegar, about a tablespoon per pound of bone or meat or whatever else when you're making the broth, and then it just sits there for an hour, maybe 2 hours before you cook it, so that acetic acid in the vinegar will draw minerals out of the bone.
Yeah, and there's a cookbook that a lot of the authors were wondering why commercially available broth was so flavorless. Probably because they didn't use vinegar and extracted the minerals.
Well, there's no standards for the preparation of the ingredients in commercial broth.
Yeah, so you don't know what you're doing.
It's possible that the manufacturers are either skipping the vinegar step, or they might not even be using bones, both of which would leave the broth devoid of minerals, which is why I think canned soup usually does not have the same amount of minerals as a home-cooked soup, because bone is an excellent source of minerals, and minerals have numerous functions in the body beyond the composition of bone, which is why the body will rob the bones when it needs to, and other tissues, to make sure there's a steady level of minerals in our blood and the other fluids.
Yeah, deficiencies of minerals can be acquired similar to vitamin deficiencies. Generally, there's two ways this can happen: lack of intake in the diet or lack of absorption in the intestines. So even if you eat it, if you can't absorb it. But broth is an excellent remedy for both of these causes of, lack of minerals in your diet, because it provides an easily absorbable extracted minerals. I mean, it promotes the healing of the intestinal tract, which will enable you to absorb and break down everything.
And unlike vitamins, minerals do not have a real defining deficiency disease, but rather a collection of very interesting associated deficiency signs and symptoms. And interestingly, many of the deficiency symptoms of minerals are mood and behavior problems.
Yeah.
And which I think offers a scientific explanation for broth's ability to soothe and to stabilize.
Yeah, that's why we find Mintran and Minchex so effective.
Yeah, because
the min is the tranquilizing minerals.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable to assume that previous to the development of the pharmaceutical mineral supplements, bone broth was an important supply of minerals, especially in the winter when fresh fruit and vegetables are less available. And really, when it's cold outside, warm food is what's preferred.
Yeah, just even one generation ago, broth was part of most households and restaurants' menus. But today, neither in nutrition or even in science textbooks list bone as a dietary source of minerals.
That's very interesting.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, very interesting.
In nutrition books, it doesn't even say bone is the source where we get
Well, we're going to go through 2 or
minerals.
3 or 4 important minerals here rather quickly for you, but these are present in the broth. And calcium, of course, is the most abundant mineral in bone, present both as hydroxyapatite and calcium itself, and it's also obviously the most abundant mineral in the body. And calcium is so important. It's the only mineral in the body that actually has a gland to regulate it, the parathyroids. And it's necessary for the normal functioning of nerve conduction and muscle contraction.
Including the regulation of the heartbeat.
Yep.
So you bodybuilders out there, it's critical for contraction of your muscles. And then all you heart patients out there.
Same thing. It facilitates the release of neurotransmitters and hormone reaction through something that's referred to as the second messenger. So it plays a very important role in mood and endocrine balance. It's necessary for blood clotting, tissue repairs also dependent on calcium. It's necessary for the passage of fluid between cell walls because calcium opens up the windows in the cell walls. It's a cofactor in the activity of hundreds of enzymes. Yeah, it's involved in the production of the body's primary energy source, adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP.
Very important.
Due to its role as in the citric acid cycle. And calcium is also involved with the immune function by helping to stabilize mast cells, the very small cells that release histamine. It regulates cell reproduction. It regulates the manufacturing of proteins.
My daughter, who's a applied clinical nutritionist like I am, always says, I can solve any problems with calcium. Give them a tablespoon of powdered calcium. Or you can eat soup.
Well, we have other podcasts on that subject.
Yeah, calcium is so critical. So as we can see, calcium is a vitally important mineral, so important that it's maintained at a constant amount in the bloodstream at all times to be available for any of your body's needs.
Yeah, so calcium, broth. Now, again, we're talking about broth because broth is loaded with calcium. The longer you simmer the broth, the more calcium is present. Can be considered for use in any of the following
look at those.
deficiency signs, symptoms, and conditions. Pain and inflammation, cramps, muscle spasms, delusions, depression, insomnia, irritability, hyperactivity, anxiety, palpitations, hypertension, allergies, brittle nails, periodontal and dental disease, pica, which is eating strange things, rickets, osteomalacia, which is the softening of bones, osteoporosis is the hollowing out of bones, and any situation that creates bone loss like aging or sedentary lifestyle, postmenopausal effects, and the effects that caffeine, tobacco, and alcohol use have on calcium. Lots of stuff.
Got to eat that bone broth.
Yeah.
And then it's phosphorus. Phosphorus is an ingredient of ATP, the body's source of energy that we talked about. So it's a regulator of all enzymes. It activates reactions. It's a component of the nucleic acids, which make up our DNA, the phospholipids, which make up our cell membranes, and it buffers acids and regulates osmotic pressure intercellularly.
So phosphorus broths can be considered for use in the following phosphorus deficiency signs, symptoms, and conditions.
Decreased attention span. Ooh, I know a lot of people that need that.
Yep.
Fatigue, weakness, muscle weakness, celiac or sprue disease, rickets, osteomalacia. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Primary hyperparathyroidism and seizures.
Yes.
Wow. Who knew? And magnesium. Magnesium is present in enzymes that generate and stabilize ATP also. So it's involved in over 300 enzyme reactions and acts as a cofactor for vitamins B1 and B6. It's involved in the synthesis of fatty acids, proteins, and nucleic acids. It contributes to muscle excitability, nerve transmission, and allows the parathyroid gland to function normally.
And magnesium deficiency causes a reduction in all the antibodies, except IgE, interestingly enough. But it's the most common dietary deficiency in the United States. Magnesium levels in the diets of 10 different non-industrialized groups, still eating their traditional diets of broth, had anywhere from 130 to 2,800% higher levels of magnesium in their bodies than in our modern diets. And these are traditional groups who do not have cancer, do not have diabetes, do not have high blood pressure, do not have heart attacks.
Look what magnesium does. Look what it helps with.
Yeah, the deficiency of magnesium can lead to any of these things here. Loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, fatigue, nervousness, anxiety, restlessness, confusion, hyperactivity, insomnia, muscular irritability, and weakness, allergies, immunodepression, kidney stones, and heart attack.
You know, I think insomnia has been in almost every one of these things.
Yeah, well, a lot of these things are... have multiple causes, but almost always running back to mineral deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this stuff is present in broth.
It's crazy. Sodium and potassium. The electrolytes, sodium and potassium, have a major influence in osmotic balance between cells and their interstitial fluid. So when you've got swelling feet or you're super dehydrated, I mean, this is what it helps balance it out, the electrolyte balance on a cellular level.
Yeah, and the electrical conductivity is necessary for nerve signals, muscle contraction, including the heart, hormone neurotransmitter release.
That's why it's so crazy for heart disease patients to lower their sodium levels. This is crazy making.
Well, sodium in particular is important to nerve and muscle function, maintaining water balance. Potassium that goes right along with sodium. The potassium pump, the sodium potassium pump work together to move fluids in the body.
For that osmotic pressure.
Both of them are involved in helping us to adapt to stress during situations of prolonged stress, such as cancer. The body stores depleted, which is why potassium is so important, acting as a catalyst in carbohydrate, protein metabolism. And intake of potassium happens to be very low in American diet, especially the foods that are delivered through the driver's side door of the car.
And there's the Himalayan pink sea salt right there.
Yeah, a good source of both of these
Sodium
minerals.
and potassium. And here's the things that sodium can help: muscle weakness, dizziness, headaches, hypotension, increased heart rate, shock, mental confusion, stupor, and coma. And potassium is good for cramping, shallow breathing, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, confusion, increased urination, and heart attacks.
Now, potassium will slow down a racing heart.
Yeah.
So also we're going to talk about sulfur.
Yeah, you can get sulfur from carrots and also from Spanish black radish and, of course, in bone broth.
Yeah, sulfur is a component in connective tissues, cartilage, skin, just as chondroitin and keratin sulfates are, and the proteins and the enzymes, hormones, B vitamins, all these things, several of them, especially thiamine and biotin, are sulfur dependent. And it's involved in energy production and blood clotting and phase 2 detoxification and bile secretion from the liver.
So you can break down your fats.
Yeah. And so the sulfur from the broth can be considered for use in degenerative arthritis and detoxification as well.
Energy production, blood clotting, phase 2 detoxification, just incredible stuff.
So that brings us to the eternal question. Is broth a food or a medicine?
Yeah. Well, it's traditionally been used as both. Okay. As a food, it's generally incorporated into dishes. It serves as a base structure to making soups and stews and sauces or gravies, or to cook grains and beans and use it instead of water.
Yeah. And as a medicine, it's, obviously used alone, sipped at intervals, or drunk much like a tea. You can make it like a tea by boiling the bones, of course.
Broth is a bone and cartilage deconcoction or tea. Yeah.
Decoction.
Instead of a concoction.
Yeah, it's a decoction.
It's like it's been digested. I mean,
it's like
broken down.
You put a tea bag in hot water and decoction takes place.
There you go.
The ingredients of that tea bag dissipate into the water. Then you drink the water to get the benefits of the tea without having to eat the tea bag.
Yeah.
Well, bones act the same way as a decoction. They're cooked long enough in certain conditions
and
so
put
that
vinegar in.
The ingredients come out of the bone into the water, and so you don't have to eat the bones. You drink the water like a tea.
And you get the minerals, and it's easily bioavailable, able to absorb. So using the standard of herbal formulation, broth qualifies as a medicine.
Yes, it does. Being both a food and a medicine, broth has some very distinct benefits. In general, food is a form of medicine that has, few side effects. It's very difficult to overdose on it. And there is less likelihood of forgetting to take your medicine since eating is a part of the normal daily routine.
Yeah, so if you have this addictive problem of eating...
Yes, if you're addicted to eating.
Yeah, you can use broth to cook grain, or for people who like white rice or eat these things on a regular basis, instead of cooking it with water, cook it with broth.
Yes.
Yeah, add broth to the fluid, everything you cook with. And then the nutritionally empty foods will suddenly have nutrition in them.
Especially white rice.
Yeah.
White rice is like white bread. There's no nutrition there at all.
Yeah.
It's just going to make you fat.
So you can just change it into something nourishing.
Cook it in broth.
Yeah, cook it in broth. At least you get some nourishment from it.
Yeah, and using leftover meat and vegetable scraps to make food as medicine is a pretty smart form of recycling. It's what our ancestors did. It's an example of using the entirety of what nature provided. But most importantly, broth tastes good, and it's a delicious food that people enjoy eating. And that's what makes the best medicine.
Best medicine. So in conclusion, yay! Here's some beautiful healing soups. This is chicken soup made with a base of chicken broth and coconut milk.
Oh, God.
Does that look good? And here's chicken soup cooking. Look at those spices in there. I mean, that's just real food. And then here is chicken and leek soup. Who knew that you could make leek soup? And then here's chicken soup with vegetables.
Yeah, it's time, baby. It's time that we just reclaim broth making from the past. Not only is broth one of the most nutritious foods, it is inherently calming and consoling and restorative, not just to our spirit, but it brings us vigor as well. And when we make broth here, you know what the house smells like, this indefinable healing goodness that just permeates throughout all the rooms of the house.
And that smell in and of itself is medicinal.
And because it's easy to absorb and it tastes good and it contains a rich concentration of nutrients that we've gone through one by one here.
And it's cheap.
It makes one of the most wonderfully nutritionally dense medicines.
Yes. So rather than going over all the disorders again that broth can help, let's talk about the benefits of broth.
Well, for one, it supports and it strengthens the function of our connective tissue, our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments, our bones. It supports and protects the function of bone. It stores energy in the function of yellow bone marrow.
The fat, which we talked about.
It acts as a shock absorber. It reduces friction, which is the function of cartilage.
Mm-hmm.
It helps flexibility and strength, which is the function of the collagen in the broth. And the function of collagen is to hold it together, to keep it together, both physically and emotionally.
Yeah. Strengthening terms come from broth, such as, let's get all souped up.
Where do you think that came from?
Yeah.
Soup up that engine.
Soup up that engine.
Yeah, well, it becomes
It means to increase the power of or the speed of.
They knew sick people would get out of bed if you fed them broth and soup.
Yeah. Or if you say it came from old things too, like we put stock in that.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, our last name, Stock. Stockwell. Hey, this is cool.
I never even thought of that.
But the big thing is to trust.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. So you see that soup right there on that picture. Is there trust in that soup?
Emotionally,
As opposed to
physically.
some of these things that you can buy and you take it out of some freeze-dried packet and you throw it on the stove and you boil it for a few minutes and it's got noodles and MSG. Delicious MSG.
Addictive.
It's just going to mess up your brain and the cells of your body. Or you make something like this that you know when you eat this, you can put your trust in it because it's going to feed
Put stock
the
in it.
body.
Yeah.
I like that. Put stock in it.
Put stock in it.
All right.
Okay. Also, want to show you, if you don't have time to make soup, which a lot of people don't, you can. This is what I always call soup in a pill. So let me just tell you real quickly how Standard Process makes calcifood. So this is like eating soup, but they have a whole separate building where they make this calcifood product because it's so noisy. In there, they have like 6 huge
Big ball mills.
drums.
Big ball mills.
Yeah, they're drums, and there's about the size of a 2-story building. I mean, they're huge drums, and in those drums they throw in bones. Okay, these are just raw bones. They try to get all cows and bones from organic, but they can't get all. But they only get the top U.S. grade, triple certified, whatever.
Right.
Then they throw in bowling balls, stainless steel bowling balls.
Well, they're not bowling balls. They're just big steel balls
Okay.
that look like
They don't have
bowling
holes in
balls.
them. I mean, they don't, on the
Yeah,
off
you can't.
time,
Yes,
they
you
go
can't take them
bowl.
to the alley. That's right.
Okay, it was just it was the way you think of it. And then they turn these drums, and that's why it's so loud, and that's why it's in a separate building.
Yeah,
Because
it's called a ball mill. It's what mining companies use to crush ore. Mm-hmm. These guys are using
know
it to
that.
crush bone.
But they do it very slowly, so it doesn't produce heat.
Yes.
And then they take this powder. They grind the bones and the marrow and everything to powder. Then they put it in these. Then they put some wheat germ in it, and they spray it up into these big vats. And we've seen these at
Yes, we've
Standard
seen it
Process,
done.
and they're huge vats. Again, they're like 2 stories tall. We could go up on 2 different levels to see the top of the vats. And they spray this bone meal, so to speak, or veal bone meal, or whatever they've made it from, and then they spray wheat germ and honey.
Yes.
And that, they do for the calcifood wafers. They spray the honey, and it drops it to the bottom, and then they stamp it out into wafers, and that's all that it is. And the powder doesn't even have the honey in it, so you can just put that in your shakes
your
or whatever.
protein shake.
And it's kind of like soup in a pill.
And
Isn't
it has what you cook for hours out of bones into a soup. Here you have it in a powder,
and it's raw.
and it's raw.
So all the amino acids are there. It's just an amazing product. It's one of our favorite. So I'm sure we've convinced you that broth and GAP soup is something that you'd like to do for yourself and your family. By now, we had to have convinced you. I'm convinced. And you can heal and seal your gut by eating broth for medicinal reasons, and you can do GAPs, but really, do you want to eat just soup for 2 years? Because Dr. McBride says it's necessary in some of the more difficult gut dysbiosis people and children to eat soup for 2 years. So with supplementation, you can greatly speed up the process of your gut healing. So you go to our website, and up there at the top, you simply type in the word GAPS, and up will come a bunch of protocols. Because remember, soup is the basis of the GAPS healing diet.
Yes.
So you can go to our website, search for GAPS. Now we've taught you how to make soup. There's 3 different GAPS protocols for each children, for children and adults. So in other words, for children, there is an introductory supplement protocol. There's a most popular supplement protocol, and there's a most powerful. And for adults, the same thing. You got an introductory, most popular, and most powerful. And this one right here, this is the introductory supplemental protocol for adults. And again, it will greatly speed up your healing with supplementation. So we really recommend that. So you'll heal and seal that gut fast, quickly.
Now, understand, doing GAPs can be very daunting. So with our VIP membership, your hand will be held and you will be guided with your own personal protocol and recipes. You'll get all of our GAPS handouts. You'll also save 20% off the supplements you need to speed up your gut healing, along with the soup and broth and the GAPS diet. It's so much better if you have a personalized protocol designed just for you.
Yeah, and not only will you save money, but you can talk to us personally about any questions you have. You can texting all the time, and you get personalized consultations every single month.
But it's still daunting.
Yeah, it is.
So again, that's why we have our VIP membership. We'll hold your hand and help you through the entire process. To have a GAPS appointment with us costs $400. And that's just for one appointment.
Without supplements, yeah.
It would be so far cheaper and better if you just joined the VIP membership for $79 a month, or join the annual membership and you get 2 months free.
Yeah. Remember, our VIP members are able to directly text us, you and me, Jack, and anybody else that they want to. They want to text of our staff. And we've already had so many people thanking us and thanking us and thanking us how helpful this has been for them to have this personalized help.
And you'll get 20% off supplements, unlimited texting, a free 30-minute consultation once a month, free shipping, private VIP Facebook access, special emails, a monthly private VIP webinar just for members, free Forbidden Doctor products, and don't forget the 20% off all supplements all the time.
And if you buy an annual membership, you not only will get a free ageless thyroid, you'll get a free long life energy enzyme. That's a $210 value.
So you just go to forbiddendoctor.com/VIP to listen to a short presentation that explains all these incredible and amazing benefits of VIP membership.
Yeah. Do something for your family. Do something for yourself. Join this membership and get some personalized help. Here's just so you know how well you'll be taken care of. We have 80 reviews now from people that walk out of our office, and we send them a little survey and they write things. And this is just one of them, but they're all 5 stars. It's just really cool what we have on there. So again, our VIP members will receive all our supporting documents and handouts that greatly simplify Dr. McBride's Big Yellow GAPS book.
Yes.
You'll get the Cliff Notes. I took that great big book and reduced it to this. Pretty easy, huh?
Yes, very easy.
And you'll also get our GAPS soup and starter recipes. You'll get a whole bunch of other helpful documents, many tests and articles about Candida. You get a test for children, a Candida test for children. What do you do about constipation? Many other handouts that will guide you through all the way through while you do GAPS, let alone you'll get a personalized supplement protocol. That is pretty good value for $79 a month.
Yes.
Yeah, because you'll need a few months. Some of you will need a whole year of holding to get your gut dysbiosis healed. And your promised free gift by becoming a VIP member, we will send you free our most favorite GAPS recipe book if you sign up for a VIP membership subscription. So
we do ask if you live in town. We'd appreciate if you'd come by the office and pick it up. And if you're out of the Salt Lake City area, just pay the shipping cost and you can still get the book for free.
Yeah. The annual subscription memberships will get the book right away. The monthly subscriptions will get it on their 3rd month.
Yes.
But I'm going to give you another couple free gifts here. Dr. Josh's Delish Soups. And this is a free gift just for watching this podcast. We're giving you 2 of Dr. Josh's favorite soup recipes. And who is Dr. Josh?
Oh, he's my son, and he works with me as another chiropractic physician in our office. He takes care of my spine.
Yeah. And these will be available to you at the end for download at the end of this podcast. You don't even have to be a VIP member to refer friends to our VIP membership. So if you know somebody that's really sick or needs to do GAPS, refer them and you will get a free bottle of Ageless Thyroid. So send them to forbiddendoctor.com/VIP and then let us know that you referred them. And if they sign up, you get a free bottle.
Yep.
It's $54 value right there. But remember, you don't have to be a VIP member to take the free symptom survey. So don't forget, just go to our website, forbiddendoctor.com, to take the survey. It's right on the home screen, forbiddendoctor.com. See that lady? You'll see her come up. And remember,
this will save you a lot of money in the long run because it specifically targets what you really need So you're not buying a bunch of supplements you don't need. To this day, I will still, when I start taking care of a new patient, and they'll bring in a bag of things they're taking. Half of them are synthetic and need to be thrown away. Half of the other half, we don't know what they are, how they got them. They just did by impulse and thought it would help them out. You take the survey, you get what you really need.
Well, they go into the vitamin stores and ask the lady at the counter. Sometimes they have
Oh, I heard this was good over here.
Yeah, sometimes they will have. I had somebody, I won't say who it is, but they were having a problem with ED. And what did they do? They went to a vitamin store and didn't dare even ask, and erectile dysfunction, that's what
Yes.
ED is, and looked around and tried to find something that would nutritionally be complementary to, what's the medicine that they use for ED?
Cialis,
No, for
Viagra.
Viagra. Yeah, they were trying to find something that was herbal for.
I don't know those words except I've heard them mentioned on TV.
So you don't have to be a VIP member to come and just take our free symptom survey, and then you'll get a nutrition consultant, you or I or Jill or Marissa or any of our staff, and you will get a personalized protocol just for
With
you.
a free 30-minute consult to go with it.
Yes, and I
Just for taking the survey.
Yeah. So let's get you on board here. For 2018, let's start making soup and let's start getting ourselves healthy.
So thank you for listening to this Forbidden Information and our Forbidden podcast. We hope you'll try to make broth and heal yourself and your family in 2018.
And if you like what we're doing in these podcasts, you can support us by leaving a positive review at the bottom of the podcast, or a comment or a question at the end of the podcast. We would love to engage with you. And don't forget to tell your family and loved ones and you yourself to go to forbiddendoctor.com/VIP and listen to that short presentation. Explains all the incredible benefits of the VIP membership. And so they and you can start to heal outside of the prevailing notion that healing only happens with drugs, and drugs for everything and drugs for anything.
So join us next time for another in-depth discussion of forbidden knowledge.
We'll see you then.
We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the Forbidden Doctor podcast. If you are curious about long life energy enzymes or ageless thyroid, you can purchase them without a membership from our website at forbiddendoctor.com, or get our enzyme formula from amazon.com by searching the full term Long Life Energy Enzymes. Don't forget to take our obligation-free symptom survey to get a free personalized supplement protocol recommended for you by Dr. Jack, Mary, or one of our qualified nutritionists. Take the survey, get a call from our nutritionist to create a protocol and a patient login, then use that login to see your own personal protocol along with any favorites you've saved from our symptom library. Remember, our website and our clinic are here for you always.